Hey, it's good to have you. Okay, so this should be my final ticket. I'm really going to stick with this one, hopefully. Yes. Hello, guys, what's up? It's good to have you. So, here are some tips to help you set better goals and also help you achieve them. And you really have to check out the last one because it puts everything else together. Yeah. Before we get into it, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do now. I'm giving you a second, 3 seconds to subscribe now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so off to the video. Have you ever heard of Captain Ernest Shackleton? Probably not. But let me tell you this. He has one of the craziest stories of all time, and this is how it goes. It was 1914, and Shackleton and his crew set forth on a journey, with the goal of being the first people to cross the Antarctica, the frozen continent. Quite bold, right? Just as they were about to realize this goal, disaster struck. Their ship got stuck in ice, completely frozen, no way forward, no way back. Imagine that, stuck in the middle of nowhere with ice all around, like miles of ice before you, miles of ice behind you, with nothing to do about it. Eventually, their ship also sank. But there's some really interesting things that we can learn from Captain Ernest Shackleton, which we can apply to our New Year's resolutions in setting goals and achieving them. The very first is this: know where you are sailing to. When Captain Ernest Shackleton left England, he had one destination in mind, one goal, which was to cross the Antarctica. And that was what everything else was being driven at. All his actions were driven by that particular action. We have to be explicit, like honest to ourselves, and this is what I want to achieve. No half-baked ideas, no vague sugarcoating, just be honest. I want to get this amount of money, I want to bag a degree. Just have and be honest with yourself. This is exactly what I want to do. The second point is to write down your goals. Now, this may come off as being so plain, but it is true. You need to write them down. Research does show that when people write down their goals, they are even much more likely to fulfill it. And the Bible does advise us in the book of Habakkuk to actually write down our vision, make it plain. Now, there's a third thing I want us to see. Goals are more like a compass that guide or direct you. So when Captain Ernest Shackleton had in mind that his goal was to cross the Antarctica, every other action would be guided by this goal. More like a compass. It was like your North Star. It shows you when you are going off track. It shows you whether you are being distracted. Because in the end, you have to be moving toward your goal. Now, just like with the concept of traveling on a ship, having a compass or a sense of direction isn't enough. You need a system to get you there. Now, in the case of Captain Shackleton, we would call that his ship, the Endurance. However, in our case, these are more like systems which carry you to where you are going to. Now, what do I mean by systems? These are processes and things which you put in place that help you achieve the goal which you have set for yourself. Let me break it down again. We could look at these systems as habits or plans that you would make. For instance, if you have a goal of maybe getting fit, you're probably going to have to build a system as to maybe getting a gym membership, build better eating habits. Just build a system that is going to help you achieve these goals. And much more importantly, the focus is supposed to be on the system. I heard this profound example somewhere and it was really great. Like in the game of basketball, if a player focuses entirely on the scoreboard, they may actually end up losing the game. The only way to get the scoreboard in your favor is to focus on the game. So it's quite similar. Don't just focus on the goals of what you want to achieve in the end. Also have a few of the systems which you are putting in place to ensure that you get to that particular place. The fifth thing I would say is set ambitious goals. I read this book, The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, where the idea he pushes is more like 10x anything you feel is achievable. I have this other mentor who also advises that whenever you set a price, he goes like, whenever you find the value of the thing, add 1 to it, and that is the price which you should sell it. So the whole goal is do not undersell yourself, Because here's one thing, if we set the stakes too low, we will hit them, but then in the long run, we haven't really been productive, we haven't reached our potential. But if we set goals which are a tad bit higher than our potential, one, it motivates us, it brings more from us than we could have done by ourselves. And secondly, even if we are unable to reach those goals, at least we would have been able to even do much more. So that's the whole idea. Set goals which are not over ambitious. The next thing is make your goals measurable. Don't necessarily go for vague goals. For instance, some of the most popular resolutions people would set often are to eat better, to get fit, and to lose some weight, which may sound so good, but in actual sense, they are a bit too vague and not really measurable. Like, how do you measure this? So you should rather set goals which are a bit more measurable. You can break them down. If it's about getting fit or losing some weight, you are probably going to maybe exercise maybe 20 minutes each day, visit the gym 3 times a week. If you are going to get better with your studies or your academics, you are probably going to maybe find a study group to join, or maybe visit the library twice a week. You just have to break it down into measurable goals so that you can know whether you are attaining it or you are not. Probably you want to read a book or you want to read more. You can break it down to measure exactly the number of books you want to do in a year. Break it down to the number of books you want to do in a month, and maybe the number of pages you have to be doing each day. All this will help you measure your progress and also ensure that you're able to achieve them. The next point is to break the goals into smaller points. If you are planning on reading 10 books in the year or 50 books in the year, why not break it down into smaller points? So for instance, you break it down into a month, maybe you want to read a book a month. Now, the average book would have roughly maybe 150 pages, 100 to 150 pages. So with 100 to 150 pages, if you could be reading, say, 5 pages a day, then you are sure that at least you are hitting roughly, give 30 days, you are hitting about 150 pages. Then you know your goal is to read 5 pages a day. And once you are doing that, it helps you be able to achieve these goals much more better. The next thing is focus on things you can control. For instance, if you were to say, I want to make, say, $1 million, you are not entirely in control of the money you are making, especially when you are on wage employment. You are not exactly in control of all the amounts of money you make. So you can make it more about the things you have control over. Another example is this, probably I want to score all A's on my exam. You are not exactly in control of the grades you get to some extent, because there are times when you feel you've written enough, you feel you've done so well, but you end up receiving not the grade you were expecting. So the better goal will maybe be to develop a better study plan, because you are in control of how much time you can put into your studies, how well you solve questions, you prepare for the exams. So that can be the goal. And in ensuring that you really nail that goal, then it's equivalent to scoring an A at least. Because scoring an A, you're not really in control over, but you are in control over how much you study and what you can assimilate. So when you focus on that, then you can also have the goal in the end. Another important point is this: forgive yourself when you slip up. It's very important. We set the goals and then we are not always going to hit these goals. We are not always going to make it. Something may happen along the line and you may have to change. In the case of the captain, their ship got stuck in ice. They had to change their goal from crossing the Antarctica to surviving. And they actually did make it out safe and sound. So did he achieve the goal he set out for in the beginning? No. But he is still remembered in history as a great captain because he was able to turn things around, make sure everything still worked for their good. So it's not always about just hitting the goals. Forgive yourself when you make mistakes. Forgive yourself when you slip up. Just keep on pushing and move on. Another important one is to build an accountability crew. A captain, you can't do it all by yourself. He had a crew with him who were checking all the other points, checking that everything was in place, people who were servicing the ship, all put together. It's all part of the system. You need a crew, you need friends, you need accountability partners. Let someone know your goals. Let them hold you accountable as to how well you're achieving them. The next is Don't chase distant shores, enjoy the waves. What do I mean by that? One problem with goal setting is that many a times we would tie our happiness at the end to fulfilling the goal. And the problem with that is, imagine New Year's resolutions, probably something you are looking forward to throughout the year. And that will mean you are going to spend the entire year not being happy because you haven't yet achieved that goal. And then at the end of the year, when you hopefully achieve the goal, you are now setting new goals for the next year. So our lives become more like a struggle for some future happiness or for some future satisfaction, which we probably never attain. So why not turn it around? Enjoy the present, enjoy the now, enjoy the journey, enjoy the adventure. Don't just look out for the end. Now, there's a saying which I really like. He says that don't focus on the gap, focus on the gain. Don't look at where you are now compared to where you want to be. Look at where you were and where you are now. The distance you have covered, the track you have covered. Let that motivate you and find happiness in the small wins, not just in the big ones. The final thing I would want to say, and I intentionally put it at the last point because it holds the most credence, and without it, everything else would be pointless or wasted. It goes back to the very first point, which is to be explicit and to know where you are going, being honest with yourself. Now, the problem is that by yourself, you probably may not be able to know everything you have to. So you need to ask God what you have to do in this year, what you have to do in this time, what He wants to do with your life, what He needs to accomplish through you and with you in the coming year, and base those goals on it. Left to ourselves, we may probably put ourselves in a cycle. We don't know everything that we need. God knows all that we need. So He's the best person to ask, to know what we have to do and how we can even achieve it. And again, He's there with you throughout the year, through it all. So He's there to comfort you whenever there's any slip up, whenever there's any mistake. He's there to guide you. He's there to direct you. It may seem overwhelming, but He's there to provide the resources needed to achieve everything that you have to do. Thank you for watching. I believe this blessed you. I hope to see you another time. Please consider liking, subscribing, sharing this with someone. Happy holidays and see you in the next video. Peace out.